Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday and school. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering Isaiah chapters 8 through 11.
Yeah, and we had our 20K special on Friday.
20K special.
Yep, it was very special.
And you know that we did a show and then said that specific show was the special, and incredible.
You know, speaking of specials, this is what, 3 years now of this show.
Yeah, 156, 3 years. There was one break.
There was one break, and then there was also another time where we did an extra show, or maybe there were two breaks.
There was one.
Yeah, we did
one specific break.
Either way, it's 3 years.
Yeah,
3 years. 3 years of this fucking book.
We've been doing this for 3 years.
Holy shit! And we're not even done with the Old Testament.
Right.
We're almost done with the Old Testament. By the end,
we're getting there.
Yeah, we're gonna be done with the Old Testament before another year is through. But
yes, we are. I sure hope so. If we're not, I'll be very sad.
Oh man.
Although, you know what? Good news. The celebration continues, in fact, next week, because we have Aaron Raw coming on the show next week.
Incredible. Last time we had Aaron on the show was...
Well, last time it was fine. It was Aaron being Aaron.
It was
but
great.
The time before when he was in studio,
that was awesome.
He was fucking hammered.
It was awesome. I loved it.
It was pretty great. And then we got some Mongolian grill after that.
Yeah.
Okay. Delicious, actually.
Well, anyways, we're reading Isaiah today.
Yeah, we are.
Yep. And I have the King James Version of the Bible.
I have the English Standard Version of the Bible.
We also have the Hebrew Bible, a translation with commentary by Robert Alter.
We also have the Holy Scriptures according to some Jews and the New King James Version.
And Eerdman's commentary on the Bible.
Yes, we do. Eerdman's commentary on the Bible.
Yep.
Classic.
Wow.
Why?
I don't know.
It sounded funny.
You remember the Great Cacao?
Yes, I do remember the Great Cacao.
Yeah.
Do you remember when I was writing the holy book for the Great Cacao?
Yeah. What was that all about?
Oh, this giant bird gave birth to the universe from an egg. That egg was the universe.
That's stupid, and I hate it.
The expansion of the universe right there.
I think that's what I said back then, and
it's
I'm
the Great Cacao.
It's the white of the egg that's just running out everywhere. That's the expansion of the universe.
Yep. That's
incredible.
I know.
What happened to the bird?
I don't fucking know. Nobody knows. That's the mystery.
Are there other eggs?
Nope.
There might be.
Wow.
But I received no such revelation.
The religion incorporates the possibility for multiverse.
Yes.
Incredible. You should actually write that, hire someone off of Fiverr to do the art, and then put it on Amazon.
I could do that.
Or I could never talk about it, but have it be the canonical lore for a book I wrote.
Canonical.
Yeah, sorry, I stumbled. Canonical lore for the book I wrote of some kind in the future. And I just don't say that, but I definitely infer that somehow.
All right. How about we hop into the readings for today?
How about we do just that? Chapter 8. Anything you want to say about this before we hop into it?
I got nothing on chapter 8 except we are going to get into the prophecies of not the prophecies, what the meanings, the signs, I should say, of Isaiah's children.
Yes.
Yeah, because all his children mean something. Let's talk about his kids.
Yeah.
And they are signs. So,
big omelet in the sky.
Hell yeah.
That's a good idea. That the yoke can be the sun, because there's no reason for the universe to be really big in the Great Cacao narrative.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Maybe we can convert all those flat earthers to
flat yokers.
To
the earth is nutrient rich.
How about we read?
Yeah, how about it? Okay. Moreover, we're in the middle of a sentence here. The Lord said unto me, take thee a great roll, paper.
Yeah, tablet.
Yeah. And write in it with a man's pen concerning Mahershalash Hasbaz.
Yeah, so concerning what you just said there.
What?
What
What
that's
is
the name.
that?
That's the name of the person.
That's
yeah.
a name.
Yeah.
That's a terrible name.
That's got to be your firstborn's
Yeah,
name
write
now.
on it with a man's stylus. So this is a literal representation of the Hebrew.
Are there female styluses?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a literal representation, which sounds a little odd. Perhaps the phrase is meant to indicate an ordinary stylus used by human beings rather than some magical or supernatural writing implement. Yeah, I would think that too. If you're saying man's stylus, I would think just a regular thing that they used for writing.
Yeah, but that's a little ridiculous. It's a bit like me saying, hand me the man's Magic the Gathering card, as opposed to that divine supernatural Magic the Gathering card that we very well could be talking about right now.
A specific man?
No, it just says with a man's stylus. So
I gotta think feminine, masculine didn't exist as much in the words back in the day.
no, it
They
did.
did.
It did.
Yeah.
So that might have,
It was
maybe it's
definitely
inferring that through translation error somehow.
No, there's definitely more masculine, feminine.
So the whole idea of a pen or writing utensil might be masculine in the first place, and or it might be.
I'm just guessing with the humans. Maybe they had some there are parts in, I forget which book it's in. I think it's in Daniel, where God is writing, but it's not with
he
a
writes
pen.
with his finger.
Yeah, he writes with his finger.
Well, God doesn't even use a pen.
Yeah, I know,
So
but like the thing is, divine beings wrote apparently, at least sometimes. So that one part that I just mentioned.
When?
Cite it.
No, it's fucking. I don't know, somewhere in fucking Daniel, I think. All right, but
We haven't gotten to it yet.
we haven't. But the point is that in the tradition here, if they had ideas of gods writing things, then using a human's writing utensil would, like, there'd be a reason to specify that.
Yeah, but every time we run into something like chariot, then you would expect them to also say, man's like so and so led an army with 5,000 man's chariots, as opposed to these divine chariots that we actually see regularly.
Then I have no idea. Maybe it's an authorship thing.
Nor should
But then
we.
again, there's plenty of stuff here that, I don't know.
Yep. Anyways,
We got no more exposition, but the name. we could talk about the name a bit, shall we?
okay.
So yeah, Mahar Shalal Hashbaz. The name means hasten booty, hurry spoils. So really demanding. Hosea is another prophet enjoined to give his offspring a symbolic name. The dire portent of this name corresponds antithetically to the hopeful portent of the name Immanuel, given to the child prophesied in 7:14. So yeah, hasten booty, hurry spoils.
It's
So
like,
he's really greedy.
Yes.
yeah, he's a grabby guy
Yeah,
kind of name.
His name basically just means I'm really greedy.
Who would ever name their child Mahershal al-Hashbaz?
I don't know, but I'm certainly naming mine hasten booty, hurry spoils.
That's what I said.
Perfect.
And I took unto me faithful witnesses to record Uriah the priest and Zechariah the son of Jeberechiah. Uriah, I remember Uriah.
Yeah.
When was the last time we heard about Uriah?
Oh, I think that was back in, if it wasn't in Chronicles, it was in Kings, I think.
Yeah, it's been
Actually,
quite a
Uriah.
while.
No, was there something in Proverbs about Uriah? Was like one of them listed? I feel like Uriah was listed in the Proverbs.
Chat, figure it out for us because we can't remember off the top of our heads right now.
Yeah.
Ditto.
Yeah, Uriah. Cool. And I went unto the prophetess, and she conceived and bare a son, So yeah, that was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Then said the Lord unto me, call his name Maher-Shalal-Hashbaz. Okay, so that's why they named the kid I'm super greedy, right? Because this guy had sex with a prophetess, and this is the child of that prophetess. I guess he defiled
he's also
a holy woman.
He is also a prophet, so...
Okay, so
it says, hold on, and I drew close to the prophet wife. That's
prophet wife?
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Although the literal meaning of Nevi'ah, the feminine form of the word for prophet, is prophetess, she is given this designation only because she is the spouse of a prophet. So she is not actually a prophet.
Okay, because I was about to say that maybe like the greedy aspect would be thinking like if you get one prophet and you have them reproduce with a prophetess, you'll get an especially holy, amazing child, right? And that might explain why it's greed, but if it's just an arbitrary title given to her, then I don't see why they would.
Yeah. I don't know. But she does nothing that is prophetic. There were female prophets. We've run into them before.
Mm-hmm.
Huldah, I think, remember?
Yeah.
So, but this one does nothing that is prophetic.
And I don't remember them being referred to as prophet wives either.
Yeah.
Okay, we get a little bit of an explanation. For before the child shall have knowledge to cry, my father and my mother, the riches of Damascus and the spoil of Samaria shall be taken away before the king of Assyria.
Good old Assyrian invasion.
Okay, so they name this kid, super greedy kid.
Yes.
Because in the king of Assyria is losing wealth. What does this have to do with
the wealth of Damascus and the spoils of Samaria shall be borne off to the king of Assyria. So maybe the kid wants some stuff because everything has been taken away. So let's see here.
But are they located in those areas?
Well, okay, so Damascus and Samaria. So Damascus was the capital of Aram, and Samaria was the capital of Israel, and just that northern kingdom.
Yeah.
These are the two allies, Aram and the northern kingdom of Israel, that had attacked Jerusalem. Yeah, that's the only exposition we have there.
It still doesn't really give a good reason for why he has to name this kid.
Nope.
Okay. Well, that poor kid, man, he's going to get made fun of for his entire life.
Yeah, we're making fun of him still.
Yeah.
Or hold on. Maybe they are using. Oh, the kid's a sign.
The kid's a sign.
Yeah, and his name is like prophesying the like the taking away of everything that Jerusalem has. The kid's a sign.
Okay.
So once they see the kid with this name, they're like, "Oh my God, you're right, child's name."
That's not an argument.
I feel like it's supposed to be a sign.
Like
That's what I'm going for.
My name is I'm super greedy. Of course, that means this kingdom's going to fall.
Pretty much.
Okay. The Lord spake also unto me again, saying, Forasmuch as this people refuseth the waters of Shiloah, that
just Shiloh.
It says Shiloah.
I know, but
here.
it's Shiloh.
Okay. That goes softly and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son.
Yeah, we talked about Rezin and the son of Remaliah before. I think that was in the last chapter, right?
Wasn't it? I think so.
I think so, yeah. So a couple things here.
Yes, this
actually,
was,
tell me once you get to the
this
end.
was in 7:1 where it talks about Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel.
Yeah. Actually, tell me when you get to the end of verse 7.
Okay. Now, therefore, behold!
Behold!
Behold.
The Lord bringeth up upon them the waters of the rivers, strong and many, even the king of Assyria, and all his glory. And he shall come up over all his channels, and go over all his banks.
So the great and mighty waters of the Euphrates. The antithesis with the quietly flowing waters of Shiloh is clear. The inhabitants of Jerusalem have not trusted in their own small kingdom, in the gentle brook Shiloh that flows through Jerusalem, but instead have turned to Samaria and Aram. For this, they will be overwhelmed by the mighty stream of the Assyrian Empire. Their mighty stream. Sounds like they're peeing on them.
Yes.
They're not, but that is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And he shall pass through Judah. He shall overflow and go over. He shall reach even to the neck, and the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of thy land, O Immanuel.
Yeah, so
Here we have, he's referring to Immanuel
exactly.
as if he's already a person who's been born and is around and can be referred to.
Exactly.
Right.
So he's speaking to Immanuel here. So the outstretched wings, the imagery of wings in the midst of flooding waters is a little strange, but wings in biblical usage has a variety of metaphorical applications, and hence the loose application may not have seemed unnatural. There is that, but I would say that if you've ever seen Assyrian architecture or Assyrian temples, anything like that, maybe the writer here is taking over from the symbolism that they saw on maybe some of their some of their armor, probably, because they had I forget what they're called, but they're like these giant bulls with wings, and they have like they're a whole bunch of different animals, parts of an animal in one, and I forget that has a specific name, and I forget what it's called.
Homunculus?
Is that it? I don't think so.
But
where there's like a like a head of an ox and a tail of something else, and yeah, like that. That's
Chimera.
Is it a chimera?
Yeah, it's a chimera.
A chimera, yeah.
Okay, well, either way, yes, that's the kind of imagery that you get in a lot of ancient Near Eastern architecture, actually, but the Assyrians included. So maybe the outstretched wings is a reference to that.
Now, I find this interesting because here I had to check in the altars because there's not quotation marks in the KJV. Oh, but here the Lord, so God starts talking in verse 5. It says, God's saying this,
Yes.
and that begins in verse 6. And this reference to Immanuel occurs in verse 8, still within that range of the speech of God.
Yes.
So when he refers to Immanuel and he's speaking, presumably to Isaiah
you
here,
would think.
Does that mean that we are identifying Immanuel with Isaiah?
So here is some commentary on Immanuel here. So this designation, apparently for the people of Judah, it's for the people of Judah, maybe. That
begins in verse 9.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because before it was it's God talking about the people and what's going to happen to them.
It says, and he shall pass through Judah, he shall overflow and go over, he shall reach even to the neck, and the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of all of thy land, O Immanuel. So God is currently talking to Isaiah. There, I think, three possibilities here. One, he's identifying Immanuel with Isaiah. Two, he's identifying a message that Isaiah is supposed to deliver to Immanuel. Or three, they're identifying Judah with Immanuel. But I don't see a reason to accept one of those three over the other.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to tell. But either way, I'm going to get through the commentary here from Walter.
All right.
So he thinks that it's about the people of Judah. He thinks it's ironic because God is scarcely with the people as it is overcome by the Assyrian forces. If the word at the end of verse 10, Immanuel, is a statement, God with us, and not a name, it would reflect a pivot in the prophet's discourse. Assyria will sweep down over Judah, but the nations of the earth, verses 9 through 10, will be fear-stricken because nevertheless God is with his people. Yet the subsequent verses go on with a prophecy of doom. So,
all right.
Yeah, it doesn't really tell us much anyways.
Strange.
It's very hard.
Yep.
But it's definitely not Jesus.
No, not Jesus. There's nothing in there that would suggest that it's Jesus. You would have to really be stretching it.
Oh, they do.
Yeah. Like, they do a basic content analysis where they're just like, well, this word appears in this other...
Well, yeah,
there's that.
First you cherry pick, and since there aren't that many cherries this time, you have to like stretch those cherries to make them look like there's more cherries.
Clever.
Hi-ho, Cheerio. That was a board game.
He's not kidding.
You ever play that?
No.
No, it was terrible.
Yeah, I don't think you need to.
The cleanup was absolutely awful. And then it had these little, like, cherry pieces, and if you stepped on one of those, it was like stepping on a Lego.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, but they were, like, really small. They had to, like, fall through this board, and, the premise of the game was that you were shaking a tree and cherries are falling.
Could you play the same game with those, I don't know what they're called, but, you can easily get them on 4th of July, and you toss them down to the ground and they explode.
Oh, yeah, I bet you could.
What are they called?
Snap bangs, something like that.
Snap bangs? Well, either way, you know the thing I'm talking about.
Snap, crackle, pops.
You could play the game with that.
Yeah, I bet you could. That would be fun.
It would be.
I bet.
We'll try that.
All right. Associate yourselves, O ye people, and ye shall be broken in pieces, and give ear, all ye of far countries. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. So it repeats there. Take counsel together, and it shall come to naught. Speak the word, and it shall not stand, for God is with us. Here, Immanuel is translated as God is with us.
What verse? Verse 10.
Verse 10, yeah. But earlier, it's Immanuel.
Yeah.
Here, it's God is with us. Is there?
Well, that would make sense, probably, for the 4th thing. Like if there was something, that was... If there's another word in there that is demonstrating purpose or cause, I guess.
It could also be for Immanuel, like for Immanuel's sake.
I could be, but again, that's like a language thing that I don't know because I don't know the Hebrew. So
you gotta learn, man.
I'm working on it, man.
You better do it before we have to start all over.
Yeah.
Yep. For the Lord spake thus to me with a strong hand and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say a confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. That was a mouthful.
Can we say that one more time, that last part with the fear?
Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid.
I love it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, so into more modern English, you shall not call a plot to all that this people calls a plot, nor fear what it fears, nor be terrified.
Man,
that makes a little more sense.
Much more succinct, though.
Mm-hmm. Sanctify the Lord of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, let him be your dread, and he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel, for a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem.
Yeah, so,
it sounds like they're encouraging people to, displace their emotions onto God as a way of not, dealing with them.
Well, you could say that, but also, the whole trusting in God thing.
Yeah. But it's
Like
like
that's everywhere.
oh,
And that's not necessarily like
mm,
getting rid of your emotions and putting them on God just to not worry about it or something.
like let him be your fear and let him be your dread. So it's like
Oh, because he's you know,
he's the ultimate
yeah.
thing to fear and dread. So you don't have to pay attention to any of those things. You just displace all of you project the feelings onto the God image.
I mean, it's not that I don't think you would.
If you were to be afraid, like there's a bear in front of you, instead just imagine your imaginary friend God, and you'd feel better.
No, so okay, so
Yeah, there's a bear in front of you. God is scarier than the bear. So
I don't think he's telling you not to worry about it. I'm just saying, just trust or not to think about it or something. Just trust in him is the whole point. Like he'll deal with it. That's a theme that's been running through the majority of this book.
Yeah. Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples, and I will wait upon the Lord that hideth his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look for him. Behold!
Behold!
I and the children whom the Lord hath given me are for signs and for wonders in Israel from the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth in Mount Zion. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their God for the living to the dead?
Okay, so verse 19 that was?
Yes. Who are these wizards that peep and mutter?
Here is here's Alter's translation for verse 19. Inquire of the ghosts and the familiar spirits who chirp and murmur. Shall not a people inquire of its gods from the dead for the from the dead for the living, for instruction and guidance?
So like instead of summoning spirits, talk to God?
Well, here's the commentary for it. Necromancy was, one may infer, a widespread practice in ancient Israel. And then we can, of course, refer back to Saul and the whole Samuel
The Witch
episode.
of Endor.
Yep. It was believed that the spirits of the dead, when called up, emitted indistinct sounds, which the necromancer could then interpret as speech. That sounds a lot like ghost hunters today. Indistinct sounds that they interpret as speech.
Like when they do the static on the
Yeah,
radio,
exactly.
and then they're like,
oh my God, they said Hail Satan.
oh my God. If you clear up the audio here and they just dub over like, Hail Satan.
My ass.
Yeah. Okay.
See, just going ghost hunting sounds fun.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to see.
There's nothing there, but like it just kind of be fun.
I mean,
to be in spooky places.
You could put that on your list. Wasn't that possible as a thing for one of our donation
yeah,
drives
that's
at
true.
some point in the future?
ghost hunting.
Ghost hunting, a
Yeah.
distant future one.
We could check out Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment.
No, that's something else now. They tore it down and
They
built
tore it down?
Yeah, I think they built something.
One of the teachers at our high school lived in that apartment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yep. Anyways. To the law and to this testimony, to the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them, and they shall pass through it, hardly bestead and hungry. And it shall come to pass that when they shall be hungry, they shall fret themselves and curse their king and their God, and look upward, and they shall look unto the earth, and behold,
Behold!
trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven to darkness. And that's the end of chapter 8. If you're enjoying the stream,
Hold up. So that was the end of chapter 8?
Mm-hmm. Verse 22.
Huh. All right.
Do you have nevertheless the dimness shall not be such as your next part? Because that's the first part of chapter 9 in here in the KJV.
Okay, so the next part that I have
Yeah.
is so yours. Sorry, just one more time. Read that last verse.
And they shall look unto the earth and behold trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven to darkness.
Huh. This is so weird. This is so very weird. So, and it shall happen when he hungers that he shall be infuriated and curse his king and his gods and turn his face upward and to earth look down. And oh, distress and darkness, swooping straits and uttermost gloom, for there is no swoop for him in the straits. Now the former has brought disgrace to the land of Zebulun. Is that where?
That's in chapter 9.
You have it in chapter 9.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, because that was all sorts of weird for a little bit.
Well, is that the last verse of your chapter 8 there?
Yeah.
It says, nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation, when at first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more, grievously afflict her by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, in Galilee of the nations.
Yeah, so just a little bit of a commentary here. So at the beginning there of verse 23, when it starts about the former, some interpreters think this is a reference to Pekah, son of Remaliah, but in general, in the general textual murkiness of this verse, that is no more than a guess.
Thank you, Flip117100, for their $5 donation.
Love it. Sounds like ignoring your problems with extra steps. I love that. That's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, Flip.
We're at about $55 now towards our
definitely now.
666 donations.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're going to get a thetan meter at the end of it. We're going to do the Scientology thing. We're going to figure out who's the most clear is.
And you know who really appreciates all of this? It's Ball.
Yes,
Ball appreciates this.
Ball appreciates your...
Ball deserves this. He's been around for thousands of years, and these past few thousand years now even, he's just been getting so little recognition.
Yeah,
show some love to Ball.
He needs your donations because, gods need donations. Haven't you ever been to church?
Yeah, right? Anyways.
They love money.
Just sometimes.
Yep.
So
share sub, move on to chapter 9.
they also because we had a note about the former, right? But we also have a note about the latter. The latter brought honor to the way of the sea. No convincing identification for the latter has been established. The verb rendered as brought honor might also mean dealt heavily or oppressed. Though if the previous verb in fact means disgraced and not was lenient, one would expect hikbid here to be its precise antonym. The two verbs derive respectively from roots that mean light and heavy. In any case, no one has satisfactorily resolved the enigma of the geographical references here and the military actions performed in or on these regions. So that's a bummer. Either way, that is the end of chapter 8. There's that for you.
Like, comment, subscribe, do your things, share it.
Yeah, all that stuff. And I'm just gonna quickly mute my goddamn phone because there's this group that's just been blowing me up. 47 messages. No, fucking put that shit on silent. That has been annoying me this whole time.
Is it Pokemon?
It is a Pokemon group. Yes.
I know it.
It's a raids for Pokemon.
You're
Go.
gonna be a Pokemon master.
Damn straight I am. Either way, I had to mute that. That was so much vibrating.
Yeah.
More than I'm comfortable with on the show. All right, let's
this show.
Yeah, let's continue, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's hop into chapter 9.
You're going into chapter 9. Okay, I'm on Isaiah 7 here. If
You can just be wherever, man. Either way. Chapter 9.
So this chapter opens with another royal oracle, linked to the previous material by the theme of gloom and darkness.
Oh, yeah, I love that gloom and darkness.
Yeah, the original described a temple ceremony in which darkness was banished by the appearance of the Lord. In the ritual, the appearance of the king.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep.
The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in a land of deep darkness, on them has light shone.
So this is one of the most arresting instances of antithetical parallelism in biblical poetry.
I mean, yeah, they said the same thing twice.
Yes. The line is starkly simple, yet haunting. Second Isaiah would pick up this contrast between light and darkness and develop it in a variety of elaborate ways. The line following here continues the light-darkness antithesis and an interlinear parallelism.
Yeah. You have multiplied the nation. You have increased its joy. They rejoice before you, as with joy at the harvest, and they are glad when they divide the spoil. That's good, but I bet there's a but.
Why is there always a caveat?
For the yoke of his burden and the staff for his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, you have broken as on the day of Midian.
The probable reference is to Gideon's defeat of the Midianite oppressors reported in Judges 6-8.
Okay. Okay, I was thinking, yeah, that would make more sense, actually. Because my other thought was at the end of Numbers, the vengeance on the Midianites.
Yeah.
Where they just killed a whole bunch of them because, they were leading men astray and all that stuff we've heard a million times. Yeah. Either way, let's continue. For every boot of the trampling warrior in battle tumult, and every garment rolled in blood will be burned as fuel for the fire. That's harsh. That's what that is.
Yeah, so every boot pounding loudly in verse 4, it says, the Hebrew se'on appears only here. A possible Akkadian cognate means boot, and the parallelism with cloak argues for some item of apparel. Pounding boots and bloodied cloaks aptly serve as metonymies for a violently advancing army.
Well then. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Peace, Prince of Peace. So I don't know if that's a lot of titles.
More lavish name.
I don't know if that's a lot of titles or one name.
This string of epithets has, so Alter says, and his name is called Wondrous Counselor, Divine Warrior, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of difference there because Mighty God and Divine Warrior are different.
Yeah, he says the string of epithets has been associated by many generations of Christian commentators and readers with Christ. What the prophet has in mind, however, is not messianic except in the strictly political sense. He envisages an ideal king from the line of David, who will sit on the throne of Judah and oversee a rule of justice and peace. The most challenging epithet in this sequence is El Gibor, which appears to say warrior god. The prophet would be violating all biblical usage if he called the Davidic king God, and the term is best construed here as some sort of intensifier. In fact, the two words could conceivably be a scribal reversal of Gibor El, in which case the second word would clearly function as a suffix of intensification, as it occasionally does elsewhere in the Bible.
That would make sense, actually. Either way, so this child is going to be very. They're expecting this kind of person to save them, I guess. and they literally mean like as a as a king. Of the increase of his government and of peace, there will be no end on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it, with justice and with righteousness. From this time forth and forevermore, the zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. Man, that's a bummer. So let's take it at face value for a second. So you have, maybe 300 years before this?
Mm-hmm.
Almost 300 years before this, you have David getting the dynastic promise. That's not going well. And now Isaiah is here, and he's all like, this next guy will uphold the throne forever.
Yeah.
The throne of David.
I have some interesting stuff here about the Septuagint and that string of titles.
And remember, just to be clear, if we're talking about like in a textual history sort of way, I don't think like there's an issue. But if you do take it at face value, then there is an issue. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
So I found this bit about that string of titles. It says, some Greek translations have Father of the Age to Come. Prince of Peace could be describing the king as one who keeps his people free from war. It could also indicate his role in maintaining the covenant of peace, the harmony of all creation. See Isaiah 53:5. Prince is used in later texts to describe the angels of the nations, Dan 10:13. But Isaiah's throne name may be an early example of this usage, since the Septuagint paraphrases all the names in an extraordinary way. His name shall be called the Angel of Great Counsel. That this is given instead of the 4 throne names and suggests that the translator regarded the name as 4 titles for one angel figure. The Septuagint continues, I shall bring peace to the rulers and health to him, which may be a misreading of the Hebrew, a popular solution to such problems, or a further paraphrase. When the Holy One appears in 1 Enoch, the fallen angels are punished and the earth is healed, 1 Enoch 10.
I don't like what you're reading there. You should just misread it.
The peace which comes to the rulers may in fact be requital or punishment. The same Hebrew letters can mean peace or requital and punishment, translated vindication in Isaiah 34:8, repay 59:18, also recompense in Deuteronomy 32:35, and punishment in Psalm 91:8. The Septuagint paraphrase here suggests that the translator knew the Enoch tradition and associated it with the throne names of the royal son in Isaiah's oracle. The Prince of Peace was the angel prince of Jerusalem, who brought judgment before the earth could be healed.
Yeah, see, this is why Parker just kind of rubs me the wrong way, I guess.
It is interesting that that's how it's presented in the Septuagint, though.
Yeah. So it would make sense for something like the Septuagint, but she does a very bad job at demonstrating like links in a specific direction, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, like the Enoch bit there.
Yeah, exactly. Like that doesn't. It could be the other way around.
Could be.
Or just a common motif around that time.
That too. Like it doesn't actually show anything. Like unless it's a direct quotation, unless you can prove that one was around beforehand, and then if you can make like a textual argument for this part of the book being dated in a certain way. Like there's a lot that goes into it, and I don't really think she really takes that all into account.
Oof. Tough.
Yeah. Anyways, so this great guy is going to establish the throne of David, all the stuff we've heard before. Thank you. To establish it and to uphold it with justice and with righteousness. From this time forth and forevermore, the zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this.
The sentence is a kind of prose coda to the poetic prophecy. It underscores an important theological point. Such an ideal ruler can come into being and sit on the throne of David only through God's zealous intervention.
You know, that kind of interpretation, Happens a lot. Especially like, it kind of gets more and more that way as we go through the book. No, this isn't like in chronological order when it comes to actually, yeah, when it comes to anything, it's not in chronological order. But it still kind of has that feeling where it gets more and more deterministic.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord has sent a word against Jacob, and it will fall on Israel, and all the people will know, Ephraim and the inhabitants of Samaria, who say in pride and in arrogance of heart.
Hold on. One moment here. So, Isaiah 9:8 through 10:4, together with 5:25, are 5 sections each ending, for all this his anger is not turned away, his hands stretched out still. There may have been various theories about these verses which seem to belong here and yet are displaced. So, one of the most satisfactory is that the Isaiah memoir, the section from the call in Isaiah 6:1 to the end of his second royal oracle at 9:7, was inserted into a poem about the chaos of his time. The original order was Isaiah 9:8 through 10:4. The next few lines of the poem are missing, and 5:25 is the end of the damaged section. The description of an Assyrian invasion, 5:26 through 30, is the conclusion of the poem, describing the punishment which Israel's wickedness has brought upon them. Read in this way, the pattern is fairly clear. Isaiah 9:8 through 12 describes the Syrians and Philistines who have already attacked the northern kingdom. The people haven't recognized this as punishment from the Lord and just decide to rebuild on a grander scale.
I mean, that's another possibility, yes. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, because obviously neither of us understand Hebrew well enough to point out when a poem has been broken into different sections.
Yeah, there is that. I mean, you know what? I should have brought the. There is the book that I brought last time that definitely probably discussed this though, but it discussed a lot of stuff from Isaiah and just prophets in general. Definitely should have brought that. I'm probably gonna bring it next week though. But yeah, it was very useful that first time around. Anyways, so here's what the arrogant people of Ephraim are saying. The bricks have fallen, but we will build with dressed stones. The sycamores have been cut down, but we will put cedars in their place.
So there's probably an allusion to the Tower of Babel here. Babel was a byword for overweening human pride, as the story in Genesis 11 shows. On cedars are the tallest trees known in the region. They're used elsewhere as a symbol of arrogance.
I honestly, even if, so I mean, Alter would obviously know the textual stuff more than I,
Mm-hmm.
but from what I can tell, as a reference to the Tower of Babel,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see it. Like
Bricks have fallen, and we shall build with hewn stone.
Yeah, but like if there's a destruction, bricks will fall.
It says
Like they
here,
just go together.
The Israelites go beyond the builders of the tower in their pride and swelling heart by resuming their task of building after the brick structure has been raised and imagining that they can build it bigger and better with hewn stone, the building material of Canaan, as against Mesopotamia. So that's Alter's argument, but I don't know. But cutting down the sycamores for cedars is just like planting bigger trees.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even because they're the cedars of Lebanon.
Right.
Right. So it could be taking what is iconic and grand from other places
and making it more grand.
Yeah, and just adopting it as your own cultural appropriation.
And more iconic. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
But the Lord raises the adversaries of Rezin against him and stirs up his enemies. The Syrians on the east and the Philistines on the west devour Israel with open mouth. For all this his anger has not turned away, and his hand is stretched out for all. I'm guessing the open mouth thing is a sword. Remember, because we talked about the mouth of the sword? Now, maybe it's completely unrelated, and maybe they mean it even more metaphorically than that.
Aram from the east and Philistines from the west, and they shall devour Israel with all their mouth.
Okay, so... Okay, they're just going to swallow it up whole, I guess.
They'll destroy it. That's the point.
Yeah.
Hungry, whatever they are.
Hungry Syrians.
Yeah.
And Philistines. We could make a game out of this. The people...
I think that could be offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Not if it's biblical.
Oh, that'd be funny. You could make like a Hungry Hippos board where each of them
But
has
they have to be biblical. They have to be biblical.
Yeah, but they have like a different flag or whatever for each of the things, and
Sure.
then there's like Israel in the middle, or like you have the outline of Israel on all the little marbles that they eat.
This is sounding horrible.
Yeah, it would be quite
Like
bad.
out of like if you're not specifically thinking about this one verse,
You could
Devouring Israel doesn't make much sense out of this context.
you could have the verse written in the middle of the board, right?
I suppose you could.
that
Yeah,
helps, and
that would help.
that would make it contextual.
Yeah, because otherwise it just looks like it's a game supporting, like it's just an anti-Semitic game.
Dismantling of.
I guess it would appear that way.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be funny.
I'm sorry I brought it up. It's too
like-
funny.
It would be bad. Okay.
It would be. Let's just keep reading. So the people did not turn to him who struck them, nor inquire of the Lord of hosts. So the Lord cut off from Israel head and tail, palm branch and reed in one day. The elder and honored man is the head, and the prophet who teaches lies is the tail.
Some scholars view this whole verse as a gloss, though it could be original to the prophecy.
Okay, fair enough. For those who guide this people have been leading them astray, and those who are guided by them are swallowed up.
So the prophet referred to is a false prophet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad guy.
Therefore, the Lord does not rejoice over their young men, and has no compassion of their fatherless and widows. Now that is something important to note, because he's always there for the orphans and the widows.
Always. And
They're
not
explicitly mentioned as like being a very protected class.
Here. Yeah, it says here in biblical poetry, young men and virgins often appear as the apt object of rejoicing, just as orphans and widows are the proverbial object of merciful concern. So, but that's not here. This is the exact opposite here.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting a lot of very contradictory stuff to our normal narratives in that way.
Well, it's not contradictory. They're just talking about somebody else.
Yeah, a special.
I get you.
Yeah,
Never mind.
special cast.
Yes.
Yeah.
They do nothing good. There you go.
The untouchables, if you will.
I suppose. For everyone is godless and an evildoer, and every mouth speaks folly. For all this his anger has not turned away, and his hand is stretched out still. For wickedness burns like a fire. It consumes briars and thorns. It kindles the thickets of the forest, and they roll upward in a column of smoke. Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts, the land is scorched, and the people are like fuel for the fire. No one spares another. Now that's intense.
Yeah, it is.
It's lit.
Yeah, I got to use the intense, scary music.
You did.
Yeah.
Finally, I was waiting for that.
I wasn't expecting that.
Me neither, yeah.
Like, no one remembers that one's even an option.
Ooh.
That's why I pushed it.
No, you could like have actual sound effects that we put in there. And
We could.
But
we should.
no. Let's continue.
I've managed to use them except for the red button, which really, let's be happy we're not using
Yeah,
that.
let's not use that one.
Tell me when you get to the end of verse 19.
Okay. I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, read your verse 19.
Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts, the land is scorched, and the people are like fuel for the fire. No one spares another.
That's verse 18.
Okay,
in
I'll read the
Alter.
next one.
Yep.
They slice meat on the right, but are still hungry, and they devour on the left, but are not satisfied. Each devours the flesh of his own arm.
Alter says, and
Let's
they
talk about that.
seized on the right and hungered, ate on the left and were not sated. The flesh of their fellow man they ate. It says, the Masoretic text reads, each man eats the flesh of his own arm. It is possible as a hyperbolic expression, but looks rather strange. The Septuagint and one Targum read, re'o, his fellow man, instead of zera'o, his arm, which sounds more likely and is also more in keeping with the previous verse. Cannibalism in times of siege is frequently mentioned in other biblical texts.
That is true. Oh, hey, do you remember Deuteronomy 28?
Yes, I remember
Good.
Deuteronomy
Good.
28.
I'm glad you do.
Yep.
I remember.
Yep. I remember.
All right, I got one last verse here for chapter 9.
Mhm.
Manasseh devours Ephraim, and Ephraim devours Manasseh. Together they are against Judah. For all this his anger has not turned away, and his hand is still stretched out.
It says Manasseh does it to Ephraim. The Hebrew has no verb, only the accusative particle et. But what is clearly indicated is that in this landscape of mutual savagery, such cannibalistic assaults is what Manasseh does to Ephraim and vice versa. The reference is to civil strife within the northern kingdom and then to the war of the north on the south.
Oh, well, there you have it. And that is the the end of chapter 9.
And do you hear something?
I do. It sounds strange and new.
Oh,
And
wow.
I've never heard it before.
It's rapturing me.
Behold, I am your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I want to let all you heathens and sinners know that I support this wonderful episode of Atheist Sunday School. Lawrence and Reuben try their very best to bring you the true glory of the Bible, and they need your help. They have provided links to their Patreon page and other social media just for you. Once again, my name is Jesus Christ, and this is Milwaukee Atheists. The Lord is with them. God bless.
You're back.
Wow. Thank you, Jesus. Jesus Christ. That left me shocked. I had no words, really speechless in that moment. That is, thank you, Jesus. Anyways, I hope he brings Reuben back at some point. That would be nice, Jesus.
Yeah.
That would be very kind of you.
I think he's got him for a little while.
He's
longer.
got it for a little while. That's a bummer.
It sure is. Whose
The-
turn is it to read? Oh, it would
Jesus
be
Christ.
Reuben's turn. Uh-oh.
Please bring back the other person that was here on this show. Would be very useful. Oh shit. Jesus, listen to me.
Whoa. That's incredible.
How was it?
I got raptured off.
You got raptured.
And then when I was returning...
I don't think they can hear you.
When I was returning in the golden chariot...
Oh, shit.
God magically emptied my bladder, and
Wow.
yep.
How about that reading from chapter 10?
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, great.
I mean, after that magical experience, you could do anything.
Very well. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless.
Oh, man, once again, they are just really, really being mean.
To those orphans.
Yeah, and the widows.
This is the orphan abuse section of the Bible. Didn't know they had it.
If I ever run for public office and I have to, like, make attack ads, I'm going to say just that.
Okay.
It's going to be awesome.
Okay.
Anyways, where was I? They're preying on orphans and robbing the fatherless.
Well, hold on here. So to tilt their cause the poor and rob justice from my people's needy, making widows their booty and despoiling orphans. That's what we got.
Despoiling your favorite thing.
Yep.
Love it.
And what will you do on the day of visitation and in the desolation which will come from far? To whom will you flee for help? And where will you leave your glory? Without me they shall bow down under the prisoners, and they shall lay far under they shall fall under the slain.
And that's kind of we've seen that kind of imagery before, where like the slave becomes the master sort of thing. It's a complete reversal of roles in society.
For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. O Assyrian, the rod of my anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. I will send him against a hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil, and to take the prey, and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. Jeez. That's a bit much, huh?
Yes, it is.
Scary music again?
Well, he's...
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're talking about, like, the Assyrians are going to come in and destroy everything and kill
take the people. And,
yeah, and they specifically outlined earlier that the widows and the orphans are the ones who are being preyed upon. And
Yep.
yeah. Okay. Howbeit he meaneth not so. Neither doth his heart think so. But it is in the heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few.
So that was a kind of a weird, first part of the verse there.
Yeah.
But he shall not imagine so, and his heart not so shall plot. The Assyrians collectively, or their king, do not realize that they are merely God's instrument for punishing his people. As the lines that follow spell out, they arrogantly assume it is all the consequence of their power. Which, let's be fair, it was.
Yeah. For he saith, are not my princes altogether kings? Is not Calno as Carchemish? Is not Hamath as Arpad? Is not Samaria as Damascus?
All right, so the list of questions there. So all those names, Calno, Karshemish, Hamath, and Arpad, these are all cities to the east that have fallen to the Assyrian onslaught. Aram is the westernmost of them, and if it is conquered, that will surely be the fate of its Israelite ally Samaria. Fair enough?
Yeah. As my hand hath found the kingdoms of the idols, and whose graven images did excel them of Jerusalem and of Samaria, shall I not, as I have done unto Samaria and her idols, so do to Jerusalem and her idols? Wherefore it shall come to pass that When the Lord hath performed his whole work upon the Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria and the glory of his high looks. For he saith, by the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom. For I am prudent, and I have removed the bonds of the people, and have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. And my hand hath found as a nest the riches of the people, and as one gathereth eggs that are left, have I gathered all the earth, and there was none that moved the wing, or opened the mouth, or peeped. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therein? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shaketh it? As if the rod should shake itself against them that lift it up, or as the staff should lift up itself, as if it were not wood.
So basically, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah. It's also pointing out the arrogance of these rulers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what happens when you bite your own hand?
You
Like in that last verse where the guys ate their
That's
hands?
just a bad decision.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Don't eat your hands. Lesson of the day. That's what I learned from this.
Yep. Don't eat your own hands. Good job.
And you say you never learned anything from the Bible.
I knew that already.
No. You needed the Bible to learn that. Okay. Therefore shall the Lord of hosts, send among his fat ones.
There's a fly.
Yeah, he's after you. I
He
apologize.
is pretty big. Just landed in the book.
He's
There he is.
He's
Close the
God's
books.
chosen fly.
That would ruin the pages.
Yes, it would.
So I'm not going to do that.
Oh, never mind.
Get the hell out of here, fly. Asshole.
Very resilient.
Watch him land on the lens.
I swear, if he lands on a lens, you better cut to that camera.
Yeah, all right. I can see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other cameras are visible.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah, if we got to deal with it, then you got to deal with it too. Ooh. Anyways, send among his fat ones leanness, and under his glory shall he kindle a burning like the burning of a fire. And the light of Israel shall be for a fire, and his Holy One for a flame, and it shall burn and devour his thorns and his briars in one day, and shall consume the glory of his forest and of his fruitful field, both soul and body, and they shall be as when a standard bearer fainteth. And the rest of the trees of the forest shall be few, that a child may write them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty God. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. So he implies that the covenant with Abraham has been fulfilled at this point.
There is also, this kind of callback to, once again, the Davidic covenant as well.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're leaving a remnant for people. Not everyone will be destroyed. There will still be a chance, basically. Although we talked about this already, but earlier in, I think, was it chapter 9? I feel like it might have been. We had the reference to the mighty God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the El Gibor, or Gibor El, right?
Yes.
So it should be noted that the Hebrew phrase here in it's 21 in this one. I'm not sure what it is in yours. A remnant shall come back, a remnant of Jacob to mighty God. So it should be noted that the phrase here, El Gibor, is the same one attached to the ideal Davidic king in 9:5, but in this case, the referent has to be God. It is possible that the occurrence of the epithet here may have triggered a scribal reversal of Gibor El in 9.5. So that's what you're getting for that one.
Interesting. For the Lord God of hosts shall make a consumption, even determined, in the midst of all the lands. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God of hosts, O my people that dwellest in Zion, be not afraid of the Assyrian. He shall smite thee with a rod, and shall lift up his staff against thee after the manner of Egypt.
Obviously.
For yet a very little while, and the indignation shall cease, and mine anger in their destruction. That's not very comforting.
Well, depends on who you are.
Yeah, they're gonna murder you, but it's not gonna be forever. Just a little while. You'll be
fine. Yeah.
You might not be fine, but it'll be okay-ish. And the Lord of hosts shall stir up a scourge for him that, according to the slaughter of Midian at the rock of Oreb, and as his rod was upon the seas, so shall he lift it up after the manner of Egypt.
Okay, so we're back on Midian, but also the rock of Oreb. So a little bit of stuff here. So like the striking down of Midian at the rock of Oreb, the story is told in Judges 7:25. So that's what that is a reference to.
All right. And it shall come to pass in that day that his burden shall be taken away from off thy shoulder, and his yoke from off thy neck, and the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing. He is come to Iath, he is passed to Migron. At Michmash he hath laid up his carriages. They are gone over the passage. They have taken up their lodging at Geba. Ramah is afraid. Gibeah of Saul is fled. Lift up thy voice, O daughter of Galim. Cause it to be heard unto Laish, O poor Anathoth.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. A lot of names, a lot of places specifically.
Yeah.
Many of which we've talked about before. I don't remember all of them, but many of which we have covered before. So there is a note here on verse 27. That's he shall come up from the desert. At least in this translation. The received text is not intelligible at this point. It reads literally a yoke from oil. The present translation supposes instead of these three Hebrew words, ol mipne shamen, a text that showed ala meyeshemon. This is necessarily conjectural, but more likely than the garbled Masoretic version. These words would then mark the beginning of a new prophecy, the scary description of the advance of the Assyrian invaders through the land. Their itinerary is spelled out in the place names of the next two verses. The Assyrian army swoops down from the north, arriving at the capital city of Judah in verse 32. There is scholarly debate as to which Assyrian expedition it is involved. Bleckensop opts for the one of 713 to 711 BCE, a decade after the destruction of the northern kingdom. So just so you know where all these names are coming from.
Yes. Madmenah is removed. The inhabitants of Gebim gather themselves to flee. As yet shall he remain at Nob that day. He shall take his hand against the mount of the daughter of Zion, the hill of Jerusalem. Behold!
Behold!
The Lord of hosts, shall lop the bow with terror, and the high ones of stature shall be hewn down, and the haughty shall be hunbled. Not humbled, hunbled. That is...
What verse?
Hunbled at the end of verse 33. Does it say humbled in there?
It says brought low.
Hunbled.
Humbled.
Not humbled, but humbled.
Yes, I'm going to hold on to that one for a spelling bee, and it's going to really screw people.
Brought low.
Yep. I assume they meant humbled. And he shall cut down the thickets of the forest with iron, and Lebanon shall fall by a mighty one. That's the end of chapter 10. So there's just, it was like a long rant about the destruction that's going to come about.
I got a little bit of a note here
All right.
for that. So Alta's translation is, and he slashes the woods thickets with iron, and Lebanon trees thunderously fall. So that's quite different. No mighty one.
Right. Well, the mighty one might be like the mighty trees, right? Because we keep hearing about these cedars of Lebanon, and if the cedars are the tallest trees that grow in the region, then they would presumably be the mighty ones.
Yeah, but
and also,
it's interesting.
But also Lebanon as a city, which deals in cedar trees, is probably economically quite well off.
Sure.
So it could be a mighty one.
So I guess it doesn't matter if the tree falls or if the city falls, because metaphorically they mean the same thing.
Right, because if the trees fall, all we really get about trade with Lebanon is the cedars of Lebanon.
Yeah.
So without that, they're screwed anyway.
The note here, though, So the one... No, never mind. That's for the other verse. Why is it like this? Why is the translation trees and not just mighty one? We get that it'll be brought down, but the translation is interesting.
I'm assuming that there's a manuscript reason for
I'm
it.
Pretty sure there should be, yeah. But either way.
We can check other Bibles. What does it say in the...
It also says, and Lebanon will fall by the majestic one. Yeah, other Bibles. Here we go. We haven't done
what
the
verse
whole...
is this?
Oh, that's no, sorry, that's 1034. Although it might be,
Oh man,
1033.
it's all set up so different in the Hebrew Bible. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Isaiah 10:34. Oh, someone circled a verse in 13.
And the only thing it says in here is that those last two verses form a link to the next chapter. In their present context, they imply that the trees...
Yeah, and Lebanon shall fall by a mighty one.
Yeah, because, okay, so in Erdman's, it says in their present context, they imply that the trees to be felled are the royal house in Jerusalem, which will be severely... What? Severely lopped, but not destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So... I guess maybe Alter is carrying it on over like the tree imagery from the previous verse. I don't know. Either way, that's the end of the chapter.
Yep. If you enjoyed so far, like, share, comment, subscribe. Send it to your friends, family, neighbors, countrymen. Lend us their ears and eyes.
Other things old timey people say.
Yeah. Golly. Gosh.
SOS.
Okay. Which, by the way,
Ahoy,
doesn't
hoy.
actually stand for anything.
Sure, it stands for
Save our ship.
No, it doesn't actually say. No, they just picked those letters and Morse because they're easy in Morse code.
Yeah, sure. That must be it.
No, I'm serious.
Oh yeah, sure. No, I know you're serious. It's just I like saying it's in that manner.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, how about we hop into chapter 11? So this chapter is one that's also been used for the Jesus tradition. I think this is the whole shoot of Jesse part.
Yeah, Erdman's says 11, 1 through 9 describes the king. In Christian interpretation, this passage has been read as a prophecy of the Messiah for the distant future. Scholars have suggested its original context as the exile or even the post-exilic period when some hoped to restore the monarchy. There's no reason, however, why the poem should not have come from Isaiah, the third of his royal oracles. Okay. Yeah, there's no reason why it didn't come from Isaiah. Coulda.
Yeah, coulda.
Yeah.
There shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots shall bear fruit. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord.
So this spirit, there's at least a phonetic link between ruach and nachach, spirit and rest, though the alliteration of the consonant chet, through the alliteration of the consonant chet in the Spirit of the Lord shall rest on him. The choice of verb is apt. The Spirit descends gently on the ideal ruler to come. The noun is then repeated another 3 times in an emphatic amphora. So it's a poetic diction.
Sure. Yep. And his delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge by what his eyes see.
This is reminiscent of God's words to Samuel, which have to do with making the right choice. That is, David for the kingship. Quote, "For man sees with the eyes and the Lord sees with the heart." End quote. 1 Samuel 16:17. The ideal king breathes the Spirit of the Lord, and that, rather than appearances, guides him in judgment.
Or decide disputes by what his ears hear. But with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. With a word he will kill the wicked.
So
at his command.
Yeah. The formulation is a pointed oxymoron. Striking the land, and in the second verse, killing the wicked are violent acts. But this king will somehow realize these ends necessary to justice through speech, in keeping with the Spirit of the Lord that has rested on him.
Yeah, I'm sure. Righteousness shall be the belt of his waist, and faithfulness the belt of his loins. The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the young goat. Oh, so this is the whole peace thing.
Yeah, the famous lines that begin with this phrase are a vivid reflection of the fondness for hyperbole manifested in prophetic poetry. It is unlikely that the prophet literally envisioned a radical transformation of the order of nature in which carnivores would become pacifistic herbivores, but this serves as a striking image for an ideal state when all violence will come to an end. Also in Eerdmans here it says that in 11:6 through 9, the king restores the wholeness of creation as in Psalm 72. Since the temple on the holy mountain is a representation of the Garden of Eden, see also Ezekiel 28:12 through 19, 41:15 through 20. What the king restores is the primal peace of Eden, and the earth is filled with the knowledge that the Lord as the waters cover the sea.
See, I don't know if it would fit the same way here, that kind of imagery. Like in Enoch, sure, right? When he sees like the vision and he's like in the center of the earth with in the garden and stuff.
Well,
right?
I guess it all depends on how connected you think Enoch and Isaiah are.
Yeah.
So if you think that Isaiah is a book that was directly inspired by First Enoch, then
I think
okay,
you're a little off.
Right. But that seems to be part of the assumption that goes through Eerdmans here. This author keeps going back to Enoch over and over again.
This is one of the many reasons I am not a fan of hers.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all really kind of sloppy, honestly. It's very religious studies.
Yeah.
Either way, I think Jesus is compared to a lamb later.
Well,
but
yeah, fucking duh.
I'm saying this will
Doy.
be one of those things that is cherry picked
Right.
and well known. This is pretty quoted.
And the calf and the lion and the fattened calf together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox.
So, wasn't David, before he was chosen,
Mhm.
what did he do?
He was, just a farmer dude,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. Is it talking about him as the child leading the calf and the lion?
Maybe. That's possible.
This is very animal apocalypse-y.
Yes and no, because I don't know if these.
Just a lot of animal metaphors.
It does have
Yeah.
a lot of animal metaphors, but I don't know if it's.
Well, I'm
And
looking forward, and at least for a couple more verses, they're going to be using these animal metaphors.
Sure, but that doesn't. It's not. I mean, I guess it's an animal apocalypse, but not in the same way as the
No.
animal apocalypse
It's
in
not an outright retelling of the
history.
of history, but it's like a prophetic.
Yeah. So it is. You could call it an apocalypse by the technical definition, but it's not. Not in the same way as the one in Enoch.
No, not even close.
The nursing child shall play over the hole of the cobra, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the adder's den. Dangerous. They shall not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. That's a lot of knowledge.
Right. Yeah. This is what it was talking about in here before,
Sure.
where the king is restoring like the Garden of
Eden
Eden.
stuff,
Yeah.
In that day, the root of Jesse, who shall stand as a signal for the peoples, of him shall the nations inquire, and his resting place shall be glorious.
So the apparent sense, the root of Jesse that is standing. The apparent sense is that is still standing, i.e. that still remains and can be regenerated. But the syntax of the line is a little confusing. In Hebrew, shall become immediately follows and on that day, and thus is distant from its probable predicate, a banner for nations. So
this burial place, or this resting place, being glorious. So of course, if
well, it says here, his resting place shall be glory.
it shall be glory.
Yeah, an altar. I don't know. That is verse 10.
Yeah.
So, his rest shall be glorious in the KJV.
I mean, I don't know how, unless there's a textual note, I don't know how Walter is translating it or how he means it. But if
The Hebrew term, his resting place, is often used for a place of settlement that is safe from his enemies. Its choice here might be intended to resonate with the spirit of the Lord that shall rest on the ideal king.
That's weird, because I would figure the resting place would be when he dies.
Right.
So my interpretation of this would have been, so when he dies, the world is just the world that he's living in, that he has effectively created, is so good now that wherever he dies, wherever he's buried, it'll be glorious. That's one interpretation. But the other interpretation that I was thinking was that, because you have to be buried with your ancestors, right? So if he was buried, wherever David was buried, wherever Jesse was buried, if he was buried in one of those places, then maybe it's just talking about that place being glorious.
Well, if you're buried with your ancestors and then that burial place is glorious, it implies that your progeny and all of your descendants will also be glorious, because they too will be buried in this glorious resting place.
I think rest in this case still just implies, like God took a break after the 7 days he rested. He's just not, I don't know that he's dead.
That's definitely not this one.
No, I don't know that he's dead, though, is all I'm saying.
Right. Well, here it says, nations shall seek him out, and his resting place shall be glory. So It's in altars. It seems to imply that this guy's going to be so great that when he goes around wherever he's, staying at any given
glorious.
time will be glorious.
Yeah.
Like a hero who gets paraded around
Sure.
town to town.
In that day, the Lord will extend his hand yet a second time to recover the remnant that remains of his people from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, and Cush is Ethiopia, from Elam, from Shinar, from Hamath, and from the coastlands of the sea.
So, although some scholars prefer to see this entire prophecy as a composition of the exilic period,
Yeah, it does look later.
it was Assyria and Egypt's hostility that were the concern of the Judahites in the later 8th century BCE. So, presumably...
It was just written a little bit afterwards.
Presumably.
Okay, I don't know.
Or maybe they were added in.
It definitely looks like a later edition, but I guess it is hard to tell how late because it does have, all those other places listed. Maybe it's... I know that there were some issues with... maybe it's pre-exilic? No, it could be exilic, right? Because the Pharaoh killed Josiah, right? Pharaoh Necho. That could be a thing. But yeah, again, the Syria, I don't know. It's hard to tell, actually.
Okay, so after 11:9, Eerdmans says the rest of chapter 11 is almost certainly post-exilic. A later writer has joined his own vision of the glorious future unto the royal oracle, which had by that time become a prophecy of a future Davidic king. Verse 10 stands alone. All people will seek out the king in his glorious city. Verses 11 through 16 comprise 4 sections. 11 through 12 list places from which the dispersed people will return to their homeland from the 4 corners of the earth. This in itself indicates a post-exilic date for the peace. Exiles had gone to Assyria after the fall of Samaria in 721 BC, to Egypt after the fall of Jerusalem in 597/586 BC, to Pathros, Upper Egypt, as papyri from a Jewish community were found at Elephantine near Aswan, apparently to Ethiopia.
I thought that was way later, the text from Elephantine. Whatever, I guess I don't remember.
Apparently to Ethiopia, who claim that the Ark of the Covenant was taken there to escape the destruction of Manasseh's reign.
Yes, that is true. So if I don't even remember if I covered it in my video on the canonization of First Enoch. Yeah, the Ethiopian Church believes that the Ark of the Covenant was taken to Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. It's even in their book, the Kebra Nagast.
Yeah, we should go over it.
We could do that, yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
To Elam and Shinar, Babylon, after the fall of Jerusalem in 597/586 BC, to Hamath, a Syrian city on the river Orontes, although there is no record of this, and to the mysterious coastlands of the sea, perhaps the lands of the Phoenicians and the Philistines, or perhaps the Greek islands where the Phoenician and Philistine traders had sold Jews into slavery. See Joel 3:6.
He will raise a signal for the nations and will assemble the banished of Israel and gather the dispersed of Judah from the 4 corners of the earth. The jealousy of Ephraim shall depart, and those who harass Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not be jealous of Judah, and Judah shall not harass Ephraim. But they shall swoop down onto the shoulder of the Philistines in the west, and together they shall plunder the people of the east. Okay, so now they're talking about some sort of future war where they've teamed up again, Israel and Judah. They're back on good terms. They're living together. They have come back together. This is, if we're taking this as being after the exile, then they have some war against the Philistines.
Yes.
Classic.
Striking enemies to the west along the Mediterranean coast and to the east in Edom and Moab and perhaps even in Mesopotamia.
Yeah, because that's the next part here.
Yep.
And together they shall plunder the people of the east, they shall put out their hand against Edom and Moab, and the Ammonites shall obey them. And the Lord will utterly destroy the tongue of the sea of Egypt. The tongue of the sea of Egypt.
This looks like an image for the Red Sea, which is tongue-shaped.
Yeah, it's a
I
geographic
guess,
thing,
sure.
I guess.
But the tongue of the sea of Egypt.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. And will wave his hand over the river with his scorching breath.
So the fierce wind.
Yeah, it does say as a note there, wind is possible.
The first word, bayam, occurring nowhere else, has defied etymological explanation. But the context suggests a sense like fierceness or power. The same word, ruach, which means spirit above, here means wind, and the antithesis between a gentle spirit and a fierce, devastating wind is pointed.
And strike it into 7 channels. And he will lead people across in sandals, and there will be a highway from Assyria for the remnant that remains of his people, as there was for Israel when they came up from the land of Egypt.
Yes. The Hebrew of there will remain from Assyria, that will remain from Assyria.
Also, there are plenty of highways in Assyria.
Yeah. The Hebrew shows prominent sound play. Asher Yisha'er Me Asher. So apparently it's like Dr. Seuss.
I mean, there's plenty of puns
Yeah.
in these books.
There you go.
Yeah. That was the end of chapter 11, I suppose. And that is the end of the show for today. We hope you all enjoyed the stream. Drop a like if you haven't, because it really helps us out.
Yes, and I have discovered what we need to do for alchemy.
What's that?
Well, I looked up a guide by Francis Bacon, and we need some mercury, and we need some potassium nitrate,
Okay.
and we need some silver, and we need
Mostly silver.
mostly silver.
We need an airtight container
Yep,
and some sort of metal lubricant, probably just flux.
yeah, probably just flux, and we need to have it in a temperate furnace that's only hot enough to keep the metal
Liquid.
for at least 6 months, regularly adding in
More
flux. And we need to make sure that like a minimal amount of the silver and mercury and sodium nitrate escape the pressure chamber.
And you shouldn't be moving it around. Don't slosh it. Don't take it. Leave it in a stationary position that whole
Needs
time.
to be evenly heated
Okay.
for at least 6 months.
So you need like a spherical thing to hold it that's airtight, that then has pressure on all sides and can still be accessed and opened. There are chambers like that.
Yeah.
It's just not, man, I don't think you could do that for 666. Maybe you can, but you're going to need a like
No, we're
rent.
going to have to like
people
rent a
stuff.
warehouse or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Probably gonna have to do something, a different kind of alchemy, some
Maybe
other kind of.
What?
Something easier, huh?
No, I'm just saying, like one that we can feasibly do.
Oh, so you don't like Francis Bacon's work? Fine, just ignore his stuff. Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Chris is
No, well-
related to Frank Bacon.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're all
he's-
related.
No, I mean he's a direct relative.
We're all related.
Yeah, but not directly. You're not
You're
directly
all related.
Yeah.
Either way,
Moving
thank
on.
you for joining us and all that other stuff we said. We got a Patreon. If you like what we do, consider becoming a patron.
Yep.
You could get all of our video scripts for $1 a month. You could enter into t-shirt giveaways.
For $10 a month.
Yep. You could be on the show.
For $50 a month.
Yeah, then there are some other tiers. You can get some other stuff.
Yeah, and you can also visit our Teespring. You can visit our Amazon wish list where
Yeah.
we can add books to this table, make videos about topics, or just send us books.
Speaking of videos on topics, I have uploaded the video on the Council of Ephesus, which will be out on Thursday. So that's what you guys will be getting on Thursday is Council of Ephesus.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah, and I've also already started working on the next one, which is going to be on heavenly horsemen. Yeah, so the motif of, remember the heavenly horsemen in 2nd Maccabees? It's going to be playing off of that. There's some ones in Zechariah. There's some stuff in Ezekiel. And, of course, the 4 horsemen.
All right.
In Revelation.
And you can't block those guys unless you got horsemanship as well.
Well,
that is a thing that they did leave out of the Bible.
Yeah, should have put that in
Cannot
there.
be blocked unless...
That's what all the horsemen get.
Yep.
It's built in.
Well, I'm pretty close to done with the Quran script.
Okay.
And I also happened to find a thing that I wrote about Thales a while back.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah, and I lost it, but I was going to use it prior to losing it, but I found it.
Okay.
It's around.
How's the esoteric Nazism?
No, shit, that's long gone. I mean, I have some stuff put together for it, but in order to get it up to where it was, it's like...
It'd be a lot of work.
It'll be a lot of work, and maybe...
By that time, your computer will crash.
I'll probably end up coming back to it later.
That's a good idea.
But I have other
Because people did buy books for us.
Yeah, people did buy books for us, and I did read those books. And I had all these notes and stuff from them, but no, it's all gone. So I gotta do it all over again.
And that's a bummer.
Yep.
But either way, thank you everyone for joining us. Facebook and Twitter, it's free to follow us on those. All links are in the description. Either way.
Yep.
We will see you on